We want to talk, obviously, on the show. We talk about audition process as we go inside the audition. But let's take it back. When did you first start? What was your very first thing ever, maybe as a kid? What was your first performance ever?
I really was, if you can believe it, I really wasn't encouraged to be an actor. So I really didn't have any performance stuff doing. I remember when I was living in my parents' house, and I did this little, I had my two friends over for a day and my sister, and we basically took these garbage bags in an unfinished basement, and we hung them all around sort of the unfinished rafters and rebar. And we created like a mini little curtain and stage studio. And we came out, we did a little performance for my parents, and they weren't too sort of impressed with what we did, but I think that's the very first thing that I ever did. But there was a massive hiatus between that attempt at trying to be an actor and then what you see today, in the frame. But I guess my first memorable role was in a CBC documentary that I did in 2017, called Dreaming of a Jewish Christmas, which was an amazing documentary that got massive heat internationally, to the point that like I'll be sitting, at my mom's place on a Friday and watching TV, and all of a sudden on PBS, there's like around Christmas time, there's the documentary that rocks up and shows again. Somebody else was telling me about it as well, and I go, I was actually in that. So that's like my first big experience, like that we shot at this old Chinese restaurant in Toronto called Sea High on
Nice.
Bathurst and 401, which is like a famous institution. So that's like my first.
That
That's my
makes
first.
sense. Yeah, Jewish Christmas
Yeah,
usually involves Chinese food.
yeah. So that was and that was an essential part of the documentary. So that's like my first big breakout role that I actually went in for. Like I got to sit down with the director, and he was
Right.
asking me about like my backstory, and I was telling him about my life in Prague, as I mentioned, and I was telling him about some of my interests and my screenwriting and all the books that I read and the stuff, and I was kind of putting the razzle dazzle on him. So then I got cast as the boyfriend, the protagonist's boyfriend, who she's just basically an opera singer. So it was a fun project. That's my first memorable project.
Hang on. It was a documentary, but what you reenacted scenes or something like that?
Yeah, because basically,
Gotcha. Like
just
docudrama kind of thing.
yeah, that's right. Like it's just basically the story about who wrote the famous Christmas carols, the ones that we sing, during the
Oh
holiday
yeah.
season. So
Yeah.
it's most of them are written. Most people wouldn't know that a lot of them are written by blacklisted Jews that were not able to be part of the industry writ large. They were not encouraged to be part of writing teams, or they were not invited on. So a lot of the even some of the messaging in the carols is very indicative of the state of mind of some of these writers. Like Mel Torme and stuff like that. It's a very interesting documentary that got a lot of heat and everybody loves it, and like all these European countries and stuff. So that's my first big breakout role.
Right. Yeah, one of my favorite Christmas songs is Dreidel Bells, Dreidel all the way. What about was that your first professional gig, like on camera thing?
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah.
one that I got paid money for. That I
Nice.
actually went into like I auditioned for like live auditions back in the day before we did self tapes, and then I got called back, and then I got a chance to go to like the location and talk with the director. It was like a troika of like the director and two production assistants. So like it was like so cool, It was like, so I had a chance to do that, which was really cool, and being on set for like a few days, and it was really fun to do that. It's my first like big, paid role.